So you said you
I think
increased
it's trying to change
it,
something.
right?
Yeah, historically, for as long as I can remember, Jeff, we have paid 67%, of the total cost of insurance. We bumped that up to 70% this year.
That who all gets it, everybody?
Every single person that takes insurance out with it. And speaking of that, Jeff, the 3% across the board is certified, non-certified bus drivers, contracted bus drivers. It's every single employee. Megan, am I missing a group? The Spain Foundation, which is paid through a grant, they didn't get it. That's our student tutors. We consider them employees. We have about 22 coming in.
And no changes to substitutes.
Right, right. But our cafeteria workers, our custodians, our maintenance workers, paraprofessionals, and our teaching staff, principals, everybody got a 3% raise.
You done a percentage on them? You didn't do a dollar amount, you done a percentage on them?
Yeah, the way theirs works, they are, it's 67% on any plan.
Oh, I'm talking about the raise.
Oh yeah, we did a 30% raise.
It's just across the board 3%, not a dollar amount, but a 3%.
3%, yeah. Because we got into that one year when they had done the 4,000, or had to increase the teacher pay $4,000 that one year to help start the process of getting closer to that 50,000 beginning teacher pay. When we did that, they also increased some non-certified positions via 4,000, and it didn't work out right on the calculations because then people that were working different hours weren't making the same pay rate, the same hourly rate at that point. So it's much smoother for those positions to have a percentage raise.
What challenges do we face down the road? Obviously, transportation. That is one. Our fleet is aging. The cost of transportation with fuel, diesel is out of sight. Y'all know that. But this year, we're going to make it. We're going to be okay in fiscal year 27. Our buildings are aging. The newest building that we own would be Scotts Hill High School. I think it was built around 2020, maybe 23 years old, something like that. That is our newest building. I forget which one is our oldest. Jeff, you have any idea? Is it Beaver maybe?
Could be Beaver or
No,
Barber.
Scotts Hill Elementary.
Yeah, I guess
Scotts Hill
that's-
Elementary is our oldest building, over half a century, maybe 70 years old. We're constantly battling that battle of leaky roofs, pavement, lighting upgrades, interior upgrades. I think we'll battle that. Have we been recorded?
Yes.
Okay. I was going to make a comment about utilities consolidate, but I'm not going to do that. Our district, our county, the state recognizes us as a sparse district. We have 10 schools, counting our virtual schools. The way they're spread out, we're always going to have more staff than we actually would need because we have to have a cafeteria staff, a janitorial staff, a maintenance person, and a per pupil ratio per building. Not total number of 3,800 students, a per pupil ratio. We've got to meet it per building. And so the way we're spread out with miles and miles and miles of transportation routes to those, keeping our buildings probably over-employed a little bit, over-personnel than what we would actually have to have if they were together. Transportation, our building needs and personnel needs will be something that's ongoing from now on.
Yeah, I've been here 28 years and I heard the first thing 28 years ago. And it's true. You know, of course, everybody says consolidation.
No. Our community schools are community centers. People, you would know, you wouldn't be
It's
surprised
a bad word.
at how much our schools are used by the community for birthday parties, for family reunions. They're vital to the community, and the community loves their schools. I was kind of teasing about the consolidation thing. I was talking about it in terms of money. But any Saturday, most weeknights, there's something going on at our school. Right now, there's 2 graduations. There's a graduation out in Martin. There's one at South Haven. There's probably some kids practicing volleyball somewhere. There's janitors that work a night shift. Anyway, they are community schools and they're vital to our community, but the buildings are old. The buildings are old.
Go back to transportation, regarding the buses and stuff. How are you guys sitting right now as far as drivers and all that?
Our two bus supervisors, they split one salary. There's two of them, Tony Brasher and Calvin Western, probably doing an amazing
Yeah,
job.
they do. I see them a lot of here.
Yes. We are actually fully staffed transportation-wise, but the age of our drivers is a little bit scary. A lot of times what people do, they will retire
Yeah.
and then become bus drivers. So we have them, the average age is probably over 65. So each year we lose a couple, they recruit. But in terms of in terms of actual number of bus drivers with a couple of subs, we're good right now. We're trying to buy, what, maybe 2 to 3 buses a year, used buses a year to stay ahead of the curve. In terms of actual, but we looked at going contracted services a couple of years ago. It was going to be over $1 million more than what y'all fund us now to do that. And actually, Robbie, the company that did the analysis for us told us they wouldn't even bid on our contracts because it's the way we're set up, about 2/3. Megan, help me out here. How many would we call subcontractors? They're not actually our employees. They own their own buses and do their own routes. Maybe half.
It's about half, it's about 50.
So if we ever went to a contracted services, we'd have to consolidate that all under one umbrella. The model that we're using is working. It's a shoestring budget, but it's working. And we've got dedicated bus drivers that have been doing it for years and years and years. I'm thankful for them. Yeah. But direct answer, there will in the future need to be some funding for transportation, in addition to what we've got now.
Right now, we got like 1.4 coming out of the county tax dollars,
Yeah.
property tax.
That's right. In fact, most of the county property tax that we receive, that's what it is. I think we only, based on the new budget, we're going to get less than 200,000 for the general purpose fund.
270.
How much? 270, is that right? Okay. All right.
I've got since you brought that up, something I want to commission is, we've done really well over the years as far as depending upon sales tax. And Dan, this is going to involve you a little bit. You and I kind of made a comment a few weeks ago. So what my fear long term is getting the school system solely dependent upon sales tax to keep them funded. We've done really well. We've managed that. There's a resolution out where they get the majority of sales tax, which is good because their sales tax has been good. They're fully funded. They have a little bit of growth with it. And over the years, we've steadily pulled that property tax back into the general fund and budgeted more for the sales tax. I don't see sales tax leaving anywhere. We're getting some new growth with some business. Megan and I was looking today for some new projections.
You should be getting a big bump.
We're looking at it.
Bucks lumber.
We've pulled the numbers on it and you kind of see what they're doing. But my fear is later on we get dependent upon that, and from a conservative side of it, I really would, over this next budget year, for us to work on that resolution, and we bring some of that, where we both have the growth on sales tax, but start funding a little bit more out of property tax here. In the event we have a recession at some point through sales tax, and our schools take a risk of having some issues there. So that's one of my concerns looking in the future.
What we've discussed would be a win for the county side, local government as well.
Yes.
The opportunity for growth there as well. Right now, the school system does get that growth, and the way you've also said it is by reducing the amount we get from property tax. I get what you're saying.
We've controlled that really well, and you guys have we work well together, but looking into this next fiscal year, that's a conversation I would like for us to sit down and revisit, and make sure it's a win for the system.
Sure.
For the growth. I understand you got aging school bus issues, transportation, so just to let the county commission know that it's not something negative. It's part of the growth that we didn't see coming with the sales tax. And with the internet sales tax coming in, now point of origin, Walmart's increasing their projected sales astronomically on online sales. So y'all noticed the addition over there. They're going to do more online delivery sales and things like that. So it's going to affect the county as a whole too, because the point of sale coming from the internet sales tax. Saying that, say this, I don't want us to get dependent on sales tax to fund our school system. So I think there needs to be a better balance. So
I agree with you, Robbie. And I will say too, from what historical trends Megan has shared with me, I know during my 3.5 years, every year sales tax revenue that has gone to the school system has been higher than the year before.
Yes.
And I think that's a 12-year trend,
Yes.
actually. So we're blessed in Henderson County, especially when they did change that, point of sale.
yeah, 2018 we did point of sale change.
What's the reserves up to now that they have?
11.5 million.
They're back up to 11.5 million.
But we're about to pull
For-
5 million almost out of it.
Where y'all was at 14 whenever you done the stadium, 14 million is what you had in reserves?
So that took place in June of 2022, and my first budget was in '23. But I think you're right, Randall.
I think it's
I think it was
14.
in the low to mid-teens, yeah.
So, yeah, and then,
So this is significant good growth.
they've got quite a bit of growth in 3 years.
So some of that is through some interest earned, some of that is through additional growth in sales tax,
Cut several positions.
cuts every year. So
Each year we have spent less than we budgeted.
And we're always over maintenance for effort every year too, aren't we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The gap has narrowed over the last few years.
but the only place we can take it is to balance that out right now is out of property tax until we change the resolution. We change the resolution, we both are seeing a moderate growth piece. But we need to make sure the school system is receiving that growth, because you guys have the largest vacancy line items in the county.
Yeah, we have like 27 total buildings, 10 schools. Yeah, we, Randall, on the reserve part of it, what I would like to see us do now is take the reserve. And I remember when I came before you about a rural school bond, and I appreciated the pushback that night. It was good pushback. It was spend your reserves to fix up your school, then we'll look at a rural school bond. At some point in the near future, we'll probably be back about looking at a bond. Our debt service is really good,
Yeah.
and we'll be looking at probably a big infusion of money because our schools are reaching that point that they're going to be fixing up.
Keep in mind, this goes for the county also. In the event something was to happen, we lose the school through an accident, through a natural disaster or something, and we try to rebuild it, we gotta have some reserve to get started versus, so we gotta make sure we got enough reserve. Whether they come in, a tornado comes out, they got a fleet of buses up the Brown Street, we've gotta have some money sitting there before we get any type of reimbursement.
The state law is 4 million, ain't it?
I think it's 10%, I think, which is about 4 million.
About 4 million, I think me and Megan's talked before, it's 4 million.
But when we redid the policies back in January, February, we upped it to 15% at that time.
Because we need a good healthy reserve on both sides. And that's what we're trying to build county reserve with also. Hopefully, we'll talk about that shortly.
Yeah, that's where we failed when they talked before. People don't understand that thing, that's a slush fund, no, it's not. It's so you can bring service until you get reimbursement. People
Like
don't
the
realize
matter,
how hard it is.
Talk about Hardin County.
He knows how hard it is to get it through FEMA or FEMA.
Hardin County right now had that natural disaster, and they predicted around $5 million for cleanup, and they're pushing 20-something, almost 28 million. We met with a guy today, he's going down there and talk to him about working on that, so. Getting our reserve up is important. Any other questions? For Daniel.
I got one quick question. I've been asked 2 or 3 times. Is there any discussion about building another building at the high school?
At the high school, there's always discussion, Randall, about building like a CTE building there. That's been brought up several times, but there's nothing in a strategic threat.
Okay, I had 2 or 3 people that asked me about maybe like a practice facility or something like that out there. There's not? Okay, that's all I
I
know.
don't foresee us doing anything
Okay.
on athletics.
I didn't think so, but I've had about 3 people ask me that. so-
There are questions every year about can we build an indoor practice facility? We just can't afford to.
We don't need it because they don't play inside.
That's true, Jay. They could practice
Do
inside
like
in the
we-
winter, I guess.
Do like we did in high school, practicing in the gym.
Yeah, yep. And they do that sometimes. Now, when the heat, based on the heat index more than anything else, when it reaches a certain spot, they have to go indoors.
We practice at night. In the summer.
I remember back in the day,
Well,
practice early and late.
Cotton picking.
Yeah. But no, there's not.
I didn't think, I told them I hadn't heard nothing about it. I promised them I'd ask you about it. so.
Thank you, sir.
Right, you're welcome. My pleasure.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
All right. Ms. Bailey, where do you want to start?
I went ahead and created I guess I'll say a preliminary budget. It's not set in stone. I just went ahead and put in the numbers, some of the figures that are required, that we have to do because increases are happening. We're looking at insurance increasing roughly 10%, come January 1st. That is not set in stone yet. We've not been provided an actual number, but that's what we're basing it off of because that's what the policy is. We're looking at the airport, that's another 50,000 that they have to have to be sustainable. That's the portion that, because none of the other municipalities are in it or other entities are in the agreement anymore, that is that portion. And then also the elected officials pay has to go in there, and then several of the departments have their operating software that they use. Those are all increasing 1,000 to 2,000 roughly a piece, and that is included in that as well. I'm trying to think if there's anything else major that had to change. Cannot think of anything else. That's pretty much it. That's actually included in this budget.
So is this the budget you sent us right here? Is that what you're talking about?
Yes.
Okay.
And I did not, so I also sent a contributions request. The amounts that are on here are not necessarily within the budget. What's in the budget is what we had last year. So
Yeah,
I'll put
ma'am.
those in there. And then we have the new ones here that you can vote on and approve.
Except for Montgomery alumni, that was not, this is the first year for that.
So,
Correct.
regarding y'all want to go ahead and get in the appropriations right now?
Sounds good to me.
All right, so the Montgomery alumni of that, it's a $30,000 request. I talked to their chairman. She stated that they had some repairs they need to do to the facility. They had rental income coming in from Southwest Head Start. And when that left them with some issues to get the building where it needs to be, where they can start renting it out and use it for a museum type thing, that nature. They asked for the county for a contribution bill, one type thing. I'm in agreement to that. We could probably look like we're taking the money out of the tourism account. Is that right?
Potentially, I'm still trying to get clarification if that's allowed.
Yeah.
I've got a question for Aaron and Tommy. During Mayor Hughes, they come up here, and did we give them that building? There was something, Aaron, do you remember?
Seems like we gave
We
it to
gave
them
them
for
a
like
bill,
$1.
we weren't supposed to be
Did we?
liable for
Like,
anything.
the school system basically gave it to them, didn't it, Jim?
Yeah, so there was a quick claim deed on that where, the county commission gave that to them.
Yeah, I was
and the
gonna-
property behind it, except for the gym and playground.
That's what I was fixing to ask you about. Me and you talked about the gym, the playground.
Yeah.
That's
Now,
Jim,
That's a grant. We can't
owned
get
by the
rid of
city at one
Well,
time.
it if you want to.
They were trying to shut the gym down. They wouldn't let them use it. I called the mayor about wanting to practice ball out there, and they wouldn't let them practice ball out there.
so what I would like to propose is also, I'm checking with the state of TDEC right now because there's a park grant that's tied to that property. But I believe that gymnasium, we could cut that gymnasium off and actually give that to them.
But you can't tear it down.
I'm working on it. But the playground has to stay where it is.
Yeah.
Didn't we just put a new roof on that gymnasium not long ago? I thought the roof was repaired on here not long ago.
Maybe 2014.
Was that not right, Aaron? It cannot be tore down, wasn't that right?
I thought it was a
We
grant.
tried to give it to them much more.
Well, they want to take the gym, remodel it, and actually use activities in it. That's what they're wanting to do. I promise you, they're not going to tear down any of that property over there.
Well, I didn't think that you could because it was, historic or something. I forgot what the deal was. It was been many moons ago.
The building is, I don't know about the gym. If they-
All that should be, it's all, the whole facility should be a historic facility.
I think it is already.
Well, it came under a grant, and whenever you do the grant, you have to replace that grant money, just like the airport.
For the
That's
park
what-
out there.
For the park, and I think we did the gym too, Brandon, I'm not for sure.
That
about the
gym
gym.
had to be, if it
I
had.
was thinking somebody told me the roof had been repaired on that gym.
Now, Chris McPeak said he actually put the roof on him and somebody else in 2014. I think it was 2014, on the backside. Because it was a flat roof and they put a pitch on it.
Okay.
But back to that appropriations request, if we can find the money in that and where it's allowed to come out of, I'd like for you guys to consider that one-time contribution where they can utilize that facility.
I'd like to see them utilize that gym maybe for some seniors and stuff in town.
Well, that's a separate issue. We'll have to see if we can actually give that out, donate to them.
Well, if we can't, can we do something with the gym ourselves?
Yes, our gym.
It's our gym.
But I say that to say this. The last administration somewhere, the mayor did some type of contract with both parties somehow, with, I don't know, it's messy. So, it's messy.
Stevens Ministry, how come it went up so much?
I know at one time we offered to give it to them and stuff, because we did not want to keep the county deputy.
No, we don't have the funds to keep up.
Well, that's what I'm talking
You're right.
about. Now, I don't mind if she can't get it out tourism, because that's designated for certain things, you know.
The reason I'm trying to articulate it through the tourism is because it's going to bring people in for cultural activities.
Well, I mean, if we can, great. I just hate county taxpayers have to pay for it.
Sure.
You know what I mean. Is the way I look at it. If it's tourism, of course, that's got to be certain things anyway, you know.
So we're looking into that.
So can we just hold off till we find out about tourism and that?
Good.
What do y'all think?
I agree with you.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to ask and I'm not saying it's a good thing. Don't get me
You
wrong.
gotta make sure we're good.
But, you know, you got the whole county that we've got to be responsible for, and they say, well, what they can't, they come out here and do it to us, but if we can do it through tourism, as the parks and stuff, that's great.
Will they be able to get any money from federal government since that is a historic site?
They have a 5013, they're a nonprofit, and I'm working with them right now, kind of like what we did with Doe Creek. They kind of funnel, we kind of assisted them with some grants to put a new roof on Doe Creek School, new restrooms, paved parking lot. So it's going to take some cooperation in between, but they should be eligible for some of the grants through the state commission. We're working on that now. They got a new board, but some new members on it, and they're learning. They reached out, so I'm going to try to assist them as much as possible.
They,
And the YMCA, reached out to them, that might be a potential partner with the YMCA also, for that facility.
We got into that a few years ago in the city with the YMCA. And they wanted to use one of the buildings at the airport. And this came out of Jackson YMCA, and they wanted to run the thing. Their rule. Be very careful.
What else? What other questions?
Well, the Stevens
Stevens
Ministry.
Ministry.
Yeah. We could go back and give them what we give them last year.
What was the request on that?
From 89 to 20.
They want to come in and
20,000.
What was that,
8,900 to 20,000.
what's the other funding sources? Like any federal grant and stuff?
As far as I know, it's just people pay.
Yeah, so through donors and partnerships. So basically, they're providing some substance abuse prevention, health and wellness classes,
The bottom down there,
grief and bereavement.
the very bottom down there is what they're gonna be using that money for, if you'll read it. They got a person quitting or retiring, they ain't got nobody hard yet, so they ain't getting no insurance payments.
Yeah, I think that employee actually, they have been coming to the jail one time a week, I believe, for a class. Even though I cannot remember what it was in regards to, but they're assisting in a class at the jail one time a week. And that employee was actually doing that class, and since that employee was no longer be there, that class will not be offered until that position is filled.
It says until it's filled, then we will no longer be receiving insurance payments.
Is this any kind of duplication of services from somebody else or anything? I mean, I know everybody has good intentions, I mean, and are there other government agencies that do the same thing as this?
Yep.
We've got an ASBO that does a similar
This was started for schools specifically though, wasn't it?
pathways.
Wasn't that what this was originally, just for schools? Wasn't it like for grieving kids? I thought that's what that was.
Does the city give them any money?
Does there anybody know all of it? I don't.
I just need to get Steve Hensley to answer some questions. The next budget meeting, we'll make sure he's in. Okay.
I think they made a request one time last year for some increase in revenue. We had
0 to
asked if they were
1,500.
gonna come, maybe,
Star sign, 0 to 1,500.
I need to read this right.
No, I didn't read it.
I guess they went from 0 to 8,900.
right. Was there, I don't mean to interrupt, but I thought I remember there being some discussion about whether some of their services might be able to be funded through some of the opioid money if it was still available. That was part of what I remember the discussion.
That would make sense.
But I don't remember.
There is some availability of that, but it's gotta meet certain thresholds, so we need to get him in here.
Could we look at giving them, not giving them 20,000 now, and give them 10,000 or 12?
We'll just go back to what you gave them late last year.
I like more information.
Yeah, I would be reluctant, I've worked with them some on some of my stuff, but I'd be reluctant to kind of give a full description, but they offer counseling and guidance and drug issues with grief. It was based on, I think the founders, they had a child that died due to suicide, and so different mental health. I probably would do a good job describing it myself, but it's good work they do, but they should really come and explain.
Star
They're
Center.
not in crash or nothing. We have a lot of things in this county that use more money too that does great work, you know. Diabetes, just stuff like that, you know. We have to look at everything by itself. Okay, so we'll hold off. That suit y'all?
And then the
Yes.
Star Center is also on there. That is a new one from last year.
What exactly do they do?
Let me find my sheet so you can have a full description.
I know one down Jackson.
That's the Star Center in Jackson, is that the one that wants to place mothers and children?
Counselor.
I know that Star Center Jackson has a rehabilitation stuff for kids and stuff too.
The Star Center provides life-changing support for individuals with disabilities throughout Tennessee. We help children communicate, people get their first jobs, seniors stay in their homes, and everything in between. The Star Center is dedicated to empowering people with disabilities to live, work, and thrive. On behalf of the Star Center, I'm writing to request $1,500 in general operating support to help us continue serving families and individuals in all 95 counties of Tennessee.
Well, I was fixing to ask you, is anybody in Henderson County that's received any assistance from the Star Center?
You seen their budget?
Yes, I get that as well. That's a
You've
requirement.
got a budget for everything on this page.
Well, most of them, yes.
I'm
But
sorry.
it's a requirement before they get any funding
Yeah.
that they provide that to me.
Okay. What, do you recall offhand how much their budget is?
I do not, I'll have to look for it and find it. It's in this somewhere.
Well, we could talk about it at the next.
They're a pretty big operation.
It's a
They
big
got
operation.
I mean, they're gonna have a massive,
It's
yeah.
a big center in
You work with them
Jackson.
too?
Jeff, what if,
Well, when I lived in Jackson, they were
You
very
were
much
on
in the
some of
public
the
eye.
thing
Never
that we
did
just
anything
handed,
out
so
there
it-
with,
about the one
Non-profit,
lady that
was there
worked
some kind of
on
committee or
one
something?
nurse worked with her son.
You were on, we didn't meet once or twice, and
Quit
quit.
out of a van.
Something to do with that, it seemed like you and Sean were doing that.
And that's
There was something that we met about the,
one of them that did.
The only thing is that on the contributions, if you get over a certain amount, I give Robbie the minutes that we all voted on, that if you get that, you've got to come every quarterly and give a report. And the chamber has not done that, and I don't think nobody else has did it. The library used to come when Dan was here, they'd always come.
Yeah. I was telling Jeff today, we need to send that out, because a lot of them don't know. Just one thing.
And the way it was then, the way we voted on it, if they didn't come and report, they didn't get the money.
That's right.
well, it's like Aaron said, this is all, there's a lot more than this, and
Are they paying
then
for
we
it,
do,
or is that a
we're
one-time
giving
thing?
taxpayers monies to it,
Sure.
and some of them may not want to give to it, for all I know.
You-
They may want to give something else.
Actually, Star Center, you're looking at about a 4.7 million, that's everything that
That's
they have.
95.
That's their assets and everything. That's not necessarily their operating budget, but that's their total, what they have
For serving 95 counties,
for now.
not just, yeah.
So Robbie, if you could send that out
Yeah.
at the beginning, so if they don't come,
Yeah,
we might want to, pay them quarterly.
That's what I was, that's,
But the library, we got to pay that.
that's maintenance.
that was one.
But your budget you've got here is based off of last year's donations, right?
Yeah, I did not include any of the.
So none of the request is in this budget here. And this budget's balanced based off of last year, right?
Correct.
Stay with last year. I mean, that just makes it simple.
So they're getting one for government school.
Well, you're gonna work on that. I mean, that's a different subject there.
You're right.
That's a totally different,
That's a different source of funding.
yeah, it's a different source. That's not, according to what you just said, that's not a continuing deal. They're gonna get that one time, and they're gonna go and do their own thing. Yeah. That's,
Now, on these other one, tourism, chamber of commerce, we get tourism money earmarked out of hotel motel tax. And it's easy we don't have to have an employee, we slide that over to the chamber and let them do the tourism for us.
well, can you work something with Montgomery through that? Through the
That's what we're
chamber?
talking about.
Through the chamber, take their money?
Don't tourism money.
So there's an account this money goes into, it has some money in it.
And the chamber manages that account? We manage that account. That's what I'm saying.
We'll need to the chamber and the chamber send it, or work with the.
That's chamber work with Montgomery, that's what I'm trying, yeah. That's, Megan understands.
I see, yeah, so, yes, but it's more along the lines of repair.
Yeah.
of some buildings.
The chamber don't own the buildings, we that, so it's maintenance. Yeah.
Right.
You-
But we don't own that section of the building. that they're
It's the
wanting
old
to
school
repair.
part, not the gym, yeah.
Well, in that, at Montgomery, they wanted Head Start to move out.
Did it?
Yes, they've got this, that lady that's running over there, the thing was with the city, when she got the grant, they would give her that property, so she got the grant, and Mike Smith from Henderson came up here and gave a check to Mayor Bray, and that was supposed to go to the city, it really doesn't matter. But they wanted Head Start out of there. Apparently Head Start was paying them rent. Now they're wanting us to give them money to repair something where they move somebody out. So they can rent it again.
I don't know that, I understand what you're saying, but I think it's more along the lines of help them get that building where they can have something for the community, like community activities, community-based activities, to do things for growth. I see what you're saying. I got some notes from the appropriations.
So for the most part, keep them the same? Is that what
Yeah.
What's JECDD? I'm done.
Joint Economic Community Development. Board.
So they get,
I saw that amount going down, it's at,
why is that went down?
I mean, I realize it's probably the 30 that was from Montgomery, that I just, no.
No, because that's come out of industrial development.
Industrial, okay.
Yeah, so yes, it's separate.
That's the budget I was given.
So, while that was asked last time was, we, on that board, we did a state grant for the industrial park, and that was a portion of everybody that paid. And this time, we don't have a project going in for this year, so it's.
Haven't just reflecting that.
Yes.
Are they still meeting?
Yeah, we meet quarterly. We have to meet for a 3-star.
Yes, I know
That's
that.
part of the requirement. But yeah, we met a few weeks ago. Every quarter.
The reason I was asking is I thought when they set that up, that it was based on a percentage or something like that.
Yeah, it's based on a pro rata for the community, like the cities and stuff like that. So that's all portion. And basically what that money does, it covers, some later expenses for some grant stuff. And, we have to perform and get an audit, independent audit for that one too.
That consists of all mayors and she says people from the community.
So you got, each municipal mayor, county mayor, Greenbelt, Chamber of Commerce, utilities, it just kind of combined everybody. And
I had 30 people on that board.
it can be endless.
I know, you can have any money.
That is the nonprofits and the other ones that we contribute to. Any more questions about that?
When are they supposed to cut the tax rate?
Hopefully by June 30th.
Yeah.
Yeah, Aaron asked one about the tax rate, Florida equalization is meeting June 1st, they'll go that week. Shortly after that, probably within 2 weeks, we should have a new certified tax rate.
You got any idea what it's gonna be?
Roughly $1.18 maybe, I don't know. That's some loose figures, but we'll see.
Well, that'd be good. You know, I may be talking out of school, but, people what gets me is, they get so upset with us over real prices. We have nothing to do with it. The county, as far as operating money, we lose money on it. Because if you got this tax rate, and they don't real price, we get extra from people building new houses and houses. You get real prices, they're gonna go back and say, well, y'all can't take any more money y'all did last year. So what does it say? You got less to operate on because of real prices, but yet they blame us. We have to struggle too, to fund the county over.
Well, the reappraisals have to happen, and value.
Oh, yeah, it's a lot, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, what I'm saying is, it shows our county's value, I mean, our assets are worth quite a bit. And the county's not immune to it either, when the assessments go up, our property values go up, which makes the county insurance go up.
That's
Yeah.
That's the biggest kicker.
Yes, that's
what
who's
gets me.
making out.
That's why I quit Facebook.
That's what I forgot earlier. I also had to increase property insurance
Yeah.
and, workers' comp and liability. So all of that is also increased about 7% lately.
See, I had the insurance person tell me that reappraisal had no effect on my insurance cost. That it was all based off of replacement cost. And they, according to the square footage of whatever your home is based off the replacement cost of that. That's what drives the cost of your insurance.
Whatever.
$170 a square, anywhere from $170 to $2 a square foot, depending on the type of house it is.
You're right.
Or you wanna talk about any of the revenue, we wanna just bump over to the expenditures?
No expenditures. I do want to explain what I did with the tax
Tax rate.
rate. I used the current tax rate because it's still the same, I use the same dollar amount, it's like total revenue.
The $1.45.
Yeah, but I did not change the amount of revenue at all, it's still the same. So we're just putting revenue numbers in the budget, okay? We're not setting those pennies that way.
Nothing's written in stone.
No. So just so we have revenue there. Same thing with the car tax. We'll skip revenue for now.
Expenditures.
Starts with page 5.
Yeah. So, really no change on page 5. I noticed a lot of the bond premiums is zeroed out. What do we do there?
Yeah, so we no longer have to have, like, elected officials no longer have to have individual bonds. Our insurance policy covers that. They now have blanket, through the insurance policy, so, those lines are no longer needed.
And a lot of these overall totals increased because of elected officials, mandatory salaries and that nature, and insurance, right?
Insurance, elected officials, mandatory, increases, and, if their software cost is going up next year,
How much was the percent on elected officials?
about 3%.
And saying that, to say this, talk about that, we're working right now and crunching the numbers, hopefully get 3% pay increase across the board, maybe for the entire county. We'll see how that works out though. And-
Come on, Megan. You got big eyes and you're smiling. Say it.
I'm just saying the budget is very tight,
It's time, we're gonna look and see where we can get it.
and it's gonna cost about 350,000,
50.
give or take.
You don't have any magic hat, no?
For 3%.
You
What?
don't have a magic hat coming out?
Well, he cut down the trees,
I just
The
planted
money
new,
The money tree.
planted a few new ones.
but everybody, but no, it's just, revenue this year has been actually a little less than last year. Most of them are down 2,000 to 3,000, it's not much, but 2,000 to 3,000 where it was the same time last year. Some are not, sales tax is up, what else?
Well, there's been lots of houses built in Henderson County, because I know there's been lots of trailers set.
So,
They can't, and they.
but there's some of our other revenue sources that are down. So it kind of evens out, in the end.
What is the, have you done heard anything from the county attorney based on the getting us compliant as far as the commission's compensation, getting us compliant based on what school has got?
So, as I've said before, like, we are grandfathered in at the rate we're at. So if we change anything, we will more than likely have to increase to the highest one that the school board has.
And that's law, right?
That is law.
Right now, we are grandfathered in though, we do not have to change.
Because
And if you
school board did that
change-
before that law was passed.
Right.
If you change, it would cost a little over $60,000. So I'm getting clarification again. We've had this conversation, I think, 2 times in the last 3 years. I know once back in the fall and then once about 23, I believe, in the fall of 23. But
What is the exact number?
the amount of how much it would cost?
Yep.
I have that right here. $60,480.
Okay.
And that is a recurring cost.
What was the employees, did you say 350 if that happened?
Yeah, 1,350.
So that law was passed after they done all that for us, where that's coming from.
So
They raised theirs before it did.
they raised theirs, it went into effect July 1st of 2021. The law changed in July 1st, 2022. So a year later, the law changed.
Yeah, I don't think we was told about that.
So we just stay grandfathered in just because the law is the law, so we're just gonna continue to be grandfathered in.
It doesn't matter to me, if y'all want to change it, but we're gonna have to come up with a source of revenue to pay for it. And the $350,000 also provide the employees to, the other employees, of Henderson County. So, I'm trying to get clarification on what amount we have to increase to.
Could be 600, could be 8.
Has the school board increased theirs any since then, since that day? And they really can't increase anymore, I hope.
No, they cannot. So if anybody tries to make any change, it would change everyone.
Can they bring it back down?
No. Because the law also states that a school board member cannot make less than they did, cannot reduce their pay.
But we can hold their basically the same, so they can't get any more.
Correct.
Well, my opinion is that we make enough as it is. If the law is the law, the law is the law. Like I said, I still think that we make enough as it is.
But which law is the law, the grandfather law or the new law?
The whatever law somebody wants to.
Okay.
I'd hate that, more money whenever nobody else is getting a raise.
That's right.
This is a part-time job, you do it for free. I don't think anybody's doing it because of the money.
Just take what be here.
It'll be a lot.
Take it be right here.
But I suspect, if the law was mandated, then I suspect they would bring it up, because we had to pay the sheriff back
Yeah.
years ago.
Oh,
Yeah, that's like 8 years ago. So if they, there's a way they could find to make us have to do it. they would.
And I've had 3 different legal opinions.
Yeah, I mean, I
So
suspect.
you're not gonna go back and sue us, Andy? is that-
No, I'm just saying, I suspect if that was, here's what I'm saying, is like, if it was mandated by state law, the people that were in charge that could make us do
I think
that,
it's
they'd make us.
it's grandfathered in.
Yeah, I remember now that came up.
we'll look at it, but
If we're looking at that, we need a way to pay for it. Because right now, I'm also now having to look for $350,000 to pay for employees paid.
could be 290. Could be. If they don't take the 60,000.
This is not,
I'll play.
that 60 is not included in the 350.
But the upper elected officials, it's reoccurring too.
Yeah.
Yes.
We could sell a Brown Shoe Company somebody.
Hey, Mr. Sam, I'm working on that too. I'm meeting next week on that.
So there's no raises for anybody in the county in this budget right here? No
Well,
raises?
except for the ones that are required by law.
There's no raises for anybody in this budget other than who's required by law?
Yes.
Okay.
Go below.
I've got time there.
It's worth that.
All right, so, there's one thing I noticed in here that, and we ran into this problem last year, I wrote computers in every department. You know, make sure, and that's another thing Megan and I have been working on with, an IT company. There's some, you know, like with the trustee's office, we ran into that problem this past year. Unless I missed it somewhere, maybe the office equipment, that fall under that, into that next one.
Computers.
So they're not budgeted at all, and every 3 years, they should be cycling those out.
If they did not put in a request for it, it was not included.
That was gonna come out of capital funds, wasn't it?
Okay. I'm afraid of that. I'm going to have to talk to them about it, because that's something that they should be budgeted for every year for replacement, and not hit all of those.
But didn't we talk about trying to do that kind of stuff out of the capital fund? The money we put aside for the capital fund?
Sheriff cars,
Cars, but I think it was cars, computers, major items was gonna,
The computer's not a major item until you need 10 minutes. If you budget
it's part of the job, you gotta have to do your job.
if you budget them and cycle them out, like you're supposed to every 3 years, you don't run into software issues and things like that, security issues.
So
But
none of these upgraded in 3 years of social.
I don't know, that's what, I just wrote it down for discussion.
They should all be updated at this point because,
The ARPA money,
well, as of, was it last fall when Wednesday went from Windows 10 to Windows 11? At that point, they all had to be in compliance. So now with how much longer they have on them, I do not know. But none of those departments had requested.
Okay.
I got a question about gasoline here. You didn't raise the gasoline on none of them except for the county office buildings, and it went up $3,000, the rest of them's all the same. You don't think you don't need to budget more money for gasoline?
It's because they already have an excess.
yeah.
They had excess to start with.
Because last time it was budgeted for $5 gallon.
Okay.
I think, did I not increase the sheriff's department or?
I don't think so. If you did, I missed it.
I'll go back and look at that one for sure, but I know the other ones had all, were way less than what we had in there.
No, it's not 5. It's on, page 18, $425.
Yeah, it stays the same.
Yeah, I think they.
Which I think on the expenditure report we get each month, I think it's still in line.
And look.
Who was included in the county office buildings? The reason it's $12,000 for gas.
That is maintenance supervisor, 2 full-time, well, we have 1 full-time at the moment, we only have 2, and we've got a part-time person,
Next week.
so 4, roughly. Plum ownership.
That would fall under that, they don't go under the maintenance part back there. In there, so, lawnmowers, just all the gas and stuff like that, that'd be under the, it all falls under it.
It all falls in the county buildings, yeah.
Okay. You get some battery pack.
Hey, you want to talk about that?
Cheaper one.
So the food service for the jail in the 54-220, which is page 20.
What number?
Page, it'll be
page 20, Jeff.
I got page
422.
The bottom.
420, gotcha.
That, is probably actually enough to sustain the food service that we have right now. And we have looked at a couple alternatives, one being potentially bringing somebody in-house, do that service. So we would actually have an employee of Henderson County, and then we would purchase the food directly ourselves from a food company, which we would have to bid that process out and everything to determine the actual cost on it. But we believe we could save $70,000 to $100,000 potentially,
By subbing it out.
if we can work the numbers out.
By doing it ourselves, not so.
Oh, I thought you told me we were gonna try to get food service bringing, coming in.
So right now, they got a contract where a private company does it, and they're just in-house, they're doing it.
Oh, okay.
So what we're saying is bring it in-house, cut them out, and do directly with the food company.
So we wouldn't be paying another company a service fee.
Okay.
How many meals do they prepare a day?
There's about 216 inmates, 3 meals a day.
3 meals a day.
So you're talking about 700-ish meals a day.
For the 2 hot, 1 cold,
Yeah.
One bit of peanut butter for breakfast.
So,
Is that something's gonna have to be discussed with the incoming sheriff?
yes. And we're gonna have to get, for sure, some order numbers set. That's just off the top of our heads when we were brainstorming it, that it could save potentially.
yeah, right now, we're roughly $1.70 a meal. We need to get that down by $1.25 to make sure it's staying in the budget. And there's certain guidelines too, that they're required nutrition wise.
So we have to make sure it meets those.
From what I hear, I think the breakfast could be improved.
You didn't like it?
I don't like one bit of peanut butter.
Let's see, moving on.
I see the medical services,
Fuel, hang on a second, I got fuel here. They're only doing about 8,000 a month on fuel for the sheriff's department currently.
so it's about, what, 96, well, you're at it, you got 90,
You're right there at it.
you got 90
But that's it,
something.
that was April, that was a higher month, so
Yeah.
I think it's okay though. That budget's gonna be okay.
The medical here, you still got it at 390, we had to move some money around, and take care of that this year, didn't we?
Yeah, so because that was because of past bills that hadn't been turned in. So we've got that problem resolved, we won't have to go back to 23 and 24 and pay bills.
So you think that's a good number for it, then?
Yes, that's my intent, is that we're back on track and we should be staying within that. We
Probably
hope,
on the healthy ones.
yes. Actually, we do.
I know, yeah.
If they have serious medical conditions, we try to get those.
We pay for our tax and stuff like that.
Okay. Fire department.
Fire department. No.
He's it. He's got some significant changes, you'll see. I will remind you that that is paid for, with the fire tax. Page 20, yes. Everybody there? So that is paid with the fire tax, and I'll let, Chief Archer, explain that, but I want to tell you before he does that, wherever my revenue number is.
Is this telling me that county fire chief's making $71,912 a year?
That is what that is telling you, yes, sir.
That's ridiculous. He needs one.
Oh, I thought you was trying to cut Cody's pay.
Yeah, no, I ain't trying to cut it.
Mine's posted
Too
here.
low.
Go ahead, Cody.
I'm trying to find my,
So,
okay, hang on a second.
we moved a few things around. We go down to like matching funds. We took a little money out of that and moved it to, maintenance and repair of vehicles. If you'll notice, that jumped way up, from 35 to 65. Basically what we're trying to do is, we've got 6 2,000 model engines. So we're looking at update the lights, rebuild some lights, basically bringing those engines back up to the life of a new engine without buying a new engine basically. And maintenance and repair of everything is up. So we have about 76 pieces of equipment now. So that adds a little money to that. That's what that's for. If we go down to uniforms, we added some money to uniforms. That covers some of the Army Guard uniforms that were coming out of the memorial fund that we have there at the office. And it also buys some turnout gear, some turnout gear in that. And then down on other equipment, I bumped that way up. Now that we took over the rescue squad, I'm looking at replacing a set of tools a year. That way, when the oldest set comes available, it's 20 years old. I'm not gonna come here and ask for 20 sets of equipment at $30 a piece. I would like to replace one every year to put on those 19 engines. And that way, when the oldest one is 19 years old, you replace it, if that makes sense. Also in there is 4 air packs. We got a grant through a volunteer grant for 4. They're about $47,000 for those 4. Okay. Each engine has 4 air packs on it. So if you replace 4 here, those 4 are 20 years old again. So that kind of building in replacement stuff, and it adds a little money to our maintenance and repair bills. That's basically kind of.
So that replacing stuff, that's in the other equipment out here, right?
Yes.
Them air packs and your tools and all that.
Air
Okay.
packs, the air packs and the tools go into other equipment. And then up here in the maintenance and repair vehicles, that's for the engines. And we may have to take some of that out of maintenance and repair to go towards the air packs. But that's upgrading fans, rebuilding some valves. I put in there to rebuild a pump, which is about $13,000 to rebuild a pump. Not all of them have to, but that'll give a little extra money to go towards lights and anything else that needs upgrading on those.
You still got your man that's coming and doing that on part-time?
We have a part-time that changes the oil and the
Does your
engines and
repair work?
tankers. Me and Chad change the oil in one of the brush trucks and our personal vehicles, or not personal vehicles, but I shouldn't say that.
The ones you drive.
The ones you drive, yes.
Your personal vehicle.
We don't change the oil personal vehicles, I promise. But I mean, we buy our oil in bulk, we buy all the filters in bulk, so we try to take care of everything like that.
And you got the rescue squad money going into their fund too, right?
Yeah.
$20,000, I think it is.
Well, that's taking
That goes
care of
toward
the insurance, yeah,
Okay.
which is not included in this.
Oh, okay.
That goes in the, inside that insurance budget section. But I will say, this year, the amount of revenue is $497,823 roughly. So the expenditures are exceeding the revenue, but we will dip into the fire tax reserve account for that amount this year.
When Pin Oak Lodge gets opened back up, maybe to help with that.
Yeah, with the hotel motel. So, but we knew that was a thing this year, so that amount is, it's about a $30,000 difference.
I think in years to come, we need to start looking for some money to give this man a raise. He's not making enough money for what he's doing.
The city's trying to give him 3%.
Do what?
The city was trying to give him 3%.
Oh, I'm sorry, I was listening to myself. This is,
We're trying to give them 30%.
Make a recommendation.
I think
What was
that's a
that,
good
did
idea.
it rent some of our tankers? Is that what you're doing?
I heard that. Any questions, Tony?
Good job.
Outstanding job y'all do. How many volunteers you got?
195.
$195.
Let me look.
We still scheduled in 29 to be paid off.
Is that, their reserve is at, as of July 1st of '25, it was at 687, 736.95.
I'm sure Steve needs some money to pay some rent.
So did you get a janitorial service contract? You was trying to do that, and I talked to you a while back. Did you ever get that done?
We've looked at the company.
I know you
It's
got,
gonna cost, how much a month here? $1,500 a month here, which would be under 25. But we already currently use that company at the health department. So we will have to do an RFP, which is a request for proposal.
so the 36,000 over here, that's just for the health department then? Where it says contracted, well, you got custodial up here and you got it zeroed at the top and you got 36,000 under contracted services. I didn't know if that was,
That is solely the health department.
that's totally the health department. So you didn't get that combined like you was trying to do then? Okay.
We'll have to do bid out. We got a couple of quotes to see if we would have to. If it came back, it's gonna put over the threshold.
So we've got, funds sitting in the county buildings currently for a position, that hasn't been filled. And so that revenue is there.
I thought we used those funds. We didn't use those funds out yonder?
We used part of it, we didn't use all of it.
Okay.
Talking about working on the health.
We left in there that there would be no.
We're not janitorial for going to do cleaning after hours.
See, they ain't never got anybody since Stevie left, right?
Correct.
So you gotta,
You guys,
What you got there?
is that included in the diesel?
I got a rough estimate on it.
Total risk
It's gonna cost about $200,000 to get it.
Fuel tax, so we get them total.
He's looking into, I wouldn't put that stock in that.
Yeah.
I want to sell it. Well, you talking about where they are now?
Yeah.
I want to move people that's out there, sell
You're
it.
gonna be able to renew a contract with Andy for the same
I
amount.
talked to a developer
There's been discussion.
about that program, putting
Yeah.
apartments, townhouses in, put it on the tax rate.
You talking to him?
They're
I'm
interested.
trying to.
Not a building, but the property is.
They're very interested. And I got approached, so the question come up about the Brown Shoe program. I got approached about selling it, if we'd be interested in selling for a factory. Here's the thing on that is, we need help. We need some serious housing. And, I've talked to a couple of developers, they're interested in it, and potentially buying it, put single family townhouses in it. Talked to a couple of
Actually,
banks.
sales is worth what we gave them.
Oh, every bit.
What's it been appraised at?
I didn't see the last appraisal, but, I'll have to look at it. I haven't really got too serious in it, because we'd have to get I really need to do a phase 2 of environmental before we sell it. That money's sitting there, we just have to pull the trigger on it here. The value, the land itself, around 10, 11 acres, you know,
I thought it was 8 acres when we bought that.
it's 10, 11, about 8.
What we get for that apron for?
430, 4.5, something like that. I mean, the property's worth what we get for it, we didn't.
If someone's willing to go in and put apartments in it,
I don't think I'd take what we give for it.
right now, it's just, I'll take what we give for plus property tax every year after.
Yeah.
But obviously, we make sure we took care of the county. But right now, it's a dead expense. And if we got our money back, we got all the years of uses out of it, but then we put it back into the tax roll. But that's something we have to look at.
Yeah, because we sold the land at Crossroads because they said that we needed to.
The value of that property for a residential development, with the park behind it, and the middle school over there, and the high school across, just around the corner, it's pretty valuable. All the utilities are there, you got your gas, you got your sewer, clean electric, and right now it would be considered as a spot zone because it's in industrial development, housing all the way around it. So to get it rezoned, it wouldn't be an issue. I think it's zoned R2, I believe.
Don't we go to the middle of the road, going back up there to the old airport?
What's that?
We own to the middle of the road, going back up there to the...
I think the right of way's over there, we got a right of way to it, obviously. But I think it'd be, we've got some interest in for developers for building houses. I've talked to a local bank that they're kind of excited about it, about doing first-time home buyers or empty nester downsizing. It opened the market up a little bit for us. One of the reasons we had to do the CDU, our property values are so high because they're selling so high inventory. We've got new houses coming in, but our inventory's a little low. And you go from the economic side of this deal, the Lexington Industrial Development Board offers these incentives for factories to come in on pilot to pay their taxes because that company's going to put in payroll to the community. The problem is we don't have enough houses to support the payroll, so other counties are benefiting from the tax payments. So we've got to get some houses in and control growth. I mean, we've got to be mindful how we do this as far as how we want to grow. Anything we can pack into the city, I mean, there's city services and things of that nature, population-wise, that don't affect the entire rest of the county.
Before you can sell that, will you not have to do a groundwater survey of that, or?
That's where phase 2 comes in, environmental.
Because I know,
And
I talked to Norman Cross up there about his building, he was trying to sell. He ran into an issue about having to do a study with it before he could sell it.
Well, I've got a company about to reach out to Norman on something. They got a Brownsville side that they're coming in and do some mitigation, but this right here, so Norman, the reason he has that Brownsville side is because they had dry cleaners. This was a garment factory, but phase 2 would kind of rule all that out. But you would have to have that before residential development could be.
Yeah. And that suit's still going on with that other factory out there too, isn't it?
So it doesn't stop the sale of property. If they had a well they would dig in it, obviously it wouldn't be as valuable. That's what that suit's about.
Yeah.
With city access water and things of that nature,
Don't really affect it.
And what the phase 2 does, it's got more to do with air quality. Anything coming out of the ground, things like that. So,
Yeah.
But yeah, if we can get that back on tax road, that would be a significant increase to our property tax. And that's what we've been doing the whole time, the property assessor's office, gaining that control back. They've done an exceptional job picking up these properties.
So the whole plan is to get the old health department building fixed, so you can move them out there, then move them out of the brown shoe building, then get the brown shoe building. So that kind of the whole.
That's my thought process on this.
So when are you planning on starting the renovations on the old health department?
As soon as we can look at, get the budget passed and roll it into the next fiscal year and get the costs, see where we're at. I worked with a talking state about assisting with some of that.
Yeah.
If we can take $200,000 and remodel that property, sell that property, and those that we're comfortable with, and the profit, the proceeds that we get off that reimburse us for the remodel, and get that on tax roll, I think it's
we still own that house up there too.
He's gonna rent too.
Well, no, the services that's out there right now, the potential of moving them out.
And they'll pay rent, right?
Yeah, kind of like they do now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just shifting some property around. And someone approached me about buying the ranch, I mean, don't help me too. So, I mean, we got options, but what we don't want to do is sell an asset for us to benefit from later on.
That branch you come to property, it'd be tough to tear down or redo.
Oh, it ain't nothing to tear down, we run a track over right through it.
Well, with all the asbestos in it.
I think all that, I think they did a study on phase one, I think all that was,
I think we got that out there.
yeah.
Did it?
Yeah, McConville, I think about McConville, and was working on that.
Well, that's good. I thought it was sprayed on the,
So it's done been abated out there then?
I believe it has been, because that's where the environmental's got to come in. I'd rather put my, get my hands on phase one, verify, and that's where phase two comes in at for the development.
a tile floor, but it's probably in the office part. Probably got that's asbestos, I'm sure it is. That thing's been there since
If there's any, it'd be the minimum in the offices.
55 or 6 or 7 or somewhere along there.
It probably does. We used to have to abate the tile on boats like that, they bring a company, and it don't take no time to get that tile.
I've got a box of tile over there sitting there versus asbestos.
As long as you don't break it, you're good.
Yeah, that's what they say. All right, any, good discussion on that, but that's kind of where we are. All right, any more on the code? EMA?
Yes, sir.
So y'all notice on page 23, the emergency call system, talk about that.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
The mayor and I had discussions about this. There's a couple of things going on. First of all, it's cost savings to the county. $13,100 a year. Lexington Utilities was a partner in this program when it was first started, prior to mine and the mayor's being in office. And they decided they're going to go a different route, so they're going to shift the full burden of the emergency call system to the county. That's one thing to consider. The second thing is, the mayor and I both are not really pleased with the way that the system itself has been rebuilt since the cyber hack that was done at the end of 2025. They worked at getting it fixed, but it's still not where it was previously. They also want us to tie it with a 3-year contract, and I'm not really favorable in tying up county assets for a 3-year contract. So we're looking at other alternatives to be able to do similar, if not better than what we were, at cost savings to the county. And that's why you'll see the line item 312 go from $13,100 down to zero. Okay. The second one is the last line item is 790. That was another equipment line item that I had available for purchases outside of anything else in my line item. That was taken to zero, not by my request. That's a line item I've used, like for example, when I went last year before the ice storm, I used that to buy emergency water to have available to deliver to the county if we needed it. Things that come up during the year that need to be purchased within the bounds of the purchasing agreement of the county. It's simply to draw a PO and go ahead and get it done instead of having to go hunt for money when it needs to be done. So the only thing I'd be requesting would be that $8,000 back in there.
Can I make a comment?
Thank you, Dave.
Yeah. I put out multiple requests for every department head to send in budget requests and to meet with me and anything they want to do in regards to the budget. I got no response. So I did what I had to do necessary to help balance the budget, but also that $8,000 was originally from a grant we would receive, and we no longer receive that grant money.
Makes sense.
On that, they're making, if we needed some water supplies, or something like that, I'll be able to pull that from another source if needed,
Yeah, we have
Yeah.
miscellaneous, we have,
other reserve accounts. Okay.
my office is always open. I say that in every email I send, every conversation I have. Most people, I think, understand that or know that. I'm always happy to meet with people. Any of you ever have a question, you know you can call me. I expect no less of anybody else, so.
So we're taking that line item away from emergency management?
Well, it was originally there for a grant.
It'll be great.
So it's not.
How long ago was that?
Within the last couple of years, 2 or 3 years.
What we had on the expenditure line item,
I mean, I'll say this, I hate to pull away from it because emergency management is vital really to our community, just like fire, law enforcement, or anybody else.
still where we are with that line item, expenditure.
There's other avenues, like the mayor said, you can go to get stuff like that. Just,
I always like to keep 10 pallets of water on standby. We've got.
I do understand there's other avenues, but I'm trying to help our director here when it comes crunch time, that he's not having to jump through 9 different hoops to get that done.
Do you think I should jump through 9 different hoops to get a budget presented?
Well, you're making almost $100,000, so yes.
Do you know how much I work?
That's your job.
Do you know I work more than the average person in this entire county?
There's no need for this. We're gonna work this
She
out.
does her job.
We're gonna work this out.
I know you can call her anytime, because I do too.
I didn't make the statement, I'm just trying to, I'm trying to help emergency management.
Well, we're going to.
Okay.
We just need to,
I didn't ask for that comment.
I'm just asking where we are spending.
That's twice that it's been directed toward me to find the money.
Where we at?
It's, as of the end of April, it's $5,509.23.
That's what we spent. Okay.
And that is for, I think most of that is for a vehicle, that was purchased.
So we need to look at that line item right there. Do you have any, upcoming things you're thinking about these, pull out of there, we're good on water?
Yeah, I don't know what we have long.
Well, I mean, I know that, any plans?
No, I don't have any plans, never had plans for what's in there.
All right. All right, we'll take a look at that. Corner, page 24.
I went ahead and increased those, based on the numbers we had for, what is it like this year. And also somehow the contracted service part that has gotten left off, and we keep having to go back and add it. I don't know, I missed it last year, so that's on me.
What is it?
That is, they, maybe, she assists with it. She gets $1,000 a month for assisting with that process.
That's the administrative side.
Yeah.
That's right.
911, I left the same.
Health Department contractor services.
Yeah, so I rearranged their budget. They had requested that they really needed the cleaning service, so they were willing to change the other monies that they had and get that cleaning service for sure. So that is in the other contracted services.
So she balanced, you gotta balance that out where it didn't change the overall.
It did not change their overall, but it just rearranges the lines within it. I have left, I will say also, CASA is in there still. There's potentially a new resolution that may need to be agreed upon by the county of where we are funding certain.
So I'll talk about that. So, you guys heard me talk about the, victim assistance fee, through the court system. It was, for 20 years, it's been $45. A couple dollars for the court, the rest of it earmarked, to a nonprofit. Looking at that source of revenue, realized it hadn't been touched for 20 years, redrafted that and sent it to the state for legislature. They passed it unanimous to 125. We've got to approve that at our next meeting, but when we approve that, we have to take the appropriations and say what we're going to give them. So I'm working on that right now for what that's going to look like coming out. That way from now on, we never have to look at the nonprofits again. That can be funded out of that source. That way every month they're earmarked and we're done with it. So y'all see that in the regular commission meeting coming up. So, and hopefully I'll have that figured out before this, but we have to work out this budget. But there's certain, there are certain categories, we just gotta make sure the categories fit.
Help them through those.
Smalls. Okay. All right, page 26.
The appropriations to the state, that is still for the health department. We have to make appropriations to the state every year. Then you still got those fall age and dependent children. And then you got the litter grant. You will notice on the 169 part-time, there is $1 added. That is intentional. It's a rounding thing in the system, so we just have to make sure there's enough there. The amount doesn't quite come out to 5,000 even over a 12-month period, or 26-month period. And then you've got retirement. Retirement is increasing this year, by the way, the percentage that we're having to pay. So that is one thing you will notice throughout, the percentage that we are paying is increasing. And then you have the medical insurance increasing on it. And then you get into the contributions. I did decrease Easter seals because they put in a request for it, actually for $3,500 instead of $45. So I did go ahead and decrease that one since that was their request. And everybody else, I think I kept it just the same. Make sure I didn't miss anything. And that was the same. Any questions? Then you get into the ag extension, I left everything the same there. Those amounts are based off what the state sends us. I may have to go back and look at retirement and medical insurance on it.
Soil conservation too.
Soil conservation here. I think theirs was under, I'm pretty sure, but I will double check it and make sure. I don't think they needed any extra because it was under what we'd already had budgeted. But I will double check those numbers. And then, any questions about those two? And then you got your flood control, which is your big maintenance in your West Tennessee River Basin.
They don't do too much.
Which one?
The beaver control.
So the beaver maintenance, USDA,
Tommy Walls has had trouble for a long time now.
well, we ran into an issue, because the USDA is paid through the federal system, and when they started making cuts, the last contract, they didn't fund federally, so we've had to outsource that to a local person, and I was contacted by USDA week before last, and they're back up and running. They want us to sign another agreement, but I'm not going to sign nothing until July, if anything.
I went to Tommy Page several times over to Humboldt, because he lives down O'Brien Road.
Yeah, well, the basin authority and the beaver bank is two different things. So, and that's another conversation.
It's big.
Yeah, yeah, so, and I've talked to Tommy about that too, anyways, that's another conversation. But the beaver maintenance, I believe we got a good plan for it right now, so if Tommy has a beaver issue, I'll call him. If you've got some bigger issues. I think we can get that, we've been pretty successful at doing that lately. But they still have to contact our office to go through my office.
Well, I don't want to clean him out because it's going to flood Springbrook.
Well, this guy here he works independently, so I'll get with him.
And you've got bigger maintenance too.
Yeah, he's highway department, I think. That's separate.
Separate. Okay. Then we've got, I left the tourism and industrial development the same. Well, except on the industrial development, I did change that amount requested by the Joint Economic Development Board. Yeah. Because it was a decrease. Veteran service, I got, there's just increase because of insurance and retirement, I believe. I think that's it. And then on insurance, the 58,400, you'll see an increase to 724,000 for our building, contents, liability, vehicle, and workman's comp. And workers' comp did not actually decrease. The amount was off last year when we changed some numbers, so I'm trying to get that back in line. So you'll see some of the other ones
I'm
increase.
gonna put you on the spot here, and
Okay.
you don't have to answer this, but what's our rate right now with workman's comp?
I cannot remember off the top of my head. It's there's different ones.
Each one different
Yeah,
parts of
there's
it.
different rates.
Well, I'll give you later.
I've got some. And then you just got your employees benefits, just a couple thousand in there. Miscellaneous in the 58,900. I think the main change, there's two changes. Got an extra 10,000 for trustee commission. So that's where they pull their commission out. And then airport improvement, you'll see the $50,000 change that I mentioned earlier. And that is now us paying 100% of the airport.
And I told Tommy the best thing come out of that airport, coffee.
In Lexington?
Yeah. It's true.
So, you will see the total expenditures without, any of those other changes that we had mentioned making, is almost 14.7 million. And then, revenue is projected at $14,436,942. So that leaves you a difference of $262,000, which 35, I can tell you off the top of my head, is coming out of the fire tax reserve. So not all of that is necessarily undesignated reserves that is kind of being pulled from. So understand that it's not saying we're the undesignated part. So, anyways.
And there's some money coming out of that, like I said, for the tourism, for the Montgomery School. Won't be that coming out of there.
But that is not added in that budget.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right, it's two separate ones.
You're good. It's just, that one's not on there.
Overall, finishing 4.6, a starting 4.6. Solid waste.
Solid waste, I went ahead and added, in the revenue part, I had added, some additional property tax there, and also, sales tax is higher than we had projected. So I went ahead and increased that for them. But their sale of recycled materials is down a little bit, so that, you'll see that decrease. So that puts their revenue next year will be roughly $777,340. And, I've got some expenditures in there. I did go ahead and I had done a 3% increase in my budget just to see what the numbers, pay increase would do. So you will see that those numbers have increased by 3%, just because it was one single fund, just have that calculation shown. And then also, medical insurance increase. There's just one full-time employee out there, so that would be the only person eligible in that fund. No, there's not one full-time, sorry. There's three full-time out there, sorry. And so you'll see that, you'll see the contracts with private agencies, I increased that just a little bit in line with what the numbers are projected at. To increase the maintenance agreements, so that was what was needed. A few more repairs to the building. And then the biggest increase you will see I also think I increased their fuel, yes, the 26,000. Utilities increased that as well. But the largest increase you will see is in the 790, the other equipment, that's $50,000. That is for a solid waste truck. I think he actually requested two, but we could reasonably fund one this year out of that reserve account for the solid waste with the increase in revenue. Now, if we rearrange the revenue, if you didn't want that much property tax going there, then it might not be reasonable to go ahead and do that there. But anyways, based on the numbers I had done, it was. So the difference in revenue and expenditures is roughly $50,000, right at $50,000. So that's for that vehicle. So that would be coming out of their reserve account. And with the intention that hopefully next year we would be able to do the same, so then he can get his two vehicles.
He's eventually gonna be looking for another truck for a roll-off.
Roll off, yeah. We had discussed that at one point.
The
and-
soap, water, and the brush sure would help it.
What's that?
The soap, water, and the brush sure would help it.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. Maybe it's raining tonight, they started on that.
That is the solid waste. Is there any more questions about it?
I just want to tell you, good job on that. That was one of the areas I was worried about, solid waste. Last time. It's not as burdensome.
And hopefully too, I've kind of been conservative on that revenue estimate, so there's always the potential that it comes in higher than what I projected, so then that'll offset part of that 50,000 too, and we can actually add more to it.
What'd you do about that extra person he was asking about?
Section first.
You know, he was talking about wanting an extra person at one time.
We didn't do anything with that. He actually didn't say anything else on that.
Okay.
We had, yeah,
You know, we had that conversation up there.
we did, yes, and I didn't think about it, but he had not mentioned that position. I think he's trying to get a maintenance position filled to help.
Want to pull from one and make two.
So, once that, I think gets settled, we can go back and look at that. There is, I mean, 375,000 in reserve at the end of the year if it goes according to, which I wouldn't be in favor of adding a recurring cost, but if we can, something that's already in place and rearrange money, then we can look at that.
If we can save some money on our janitorial expenses, this $40,000, $50,000 a year salary job that we've been in here and move some people around, that's what we're doing.
Any questions about it?
Talk about drugs.
Drug funds?
I'm all for it.
It's pretty much,
Just like you did on it.
it is pretty much the same. I'm trying to see. Why is that only? Oh, because I zeroed out the salary. I was trying to figure out what it decreased. So that stipend that was in there, that is no longer being done, so we removed that. And then gave some more towards vehicles, but it's still less than what's currently in there. So that one's pretty simple. Still the same projected revenue at the moment, and that reserve would end with roughly $97,300. service, we do have some debt rolling off, a little bit, not a whole lot. Our debt payments aren't going down. But it's not rolling off, it's just decreasing the payment is, and the interest. So you'll see some decreases there. You'll also see in the revenue that we have enough revenue to cover those, all the expenditures. We're still making, what, 7,000 in that fund, as long as revenue and expenditures equal out. And so that one's in really good shape, the debt service fund. And it should be able to pay, it will definitely be able to pay for our debt payments next year. And if there's anything else we decide needs to be done. The rule debt on the next page, page 35, that is for the school system. That's the rural school bond. And that also is meeting the revenue and expenditures are pretty much equaling out. About $8,000 difference there as well. The school system pays that. There's a transfer done every year from the general purpose school fund to the rural debt service.
That's our sales septic system. Septic systems.
That's not the wastewater. That's the where is it? They've got the wastewater one, and then they've got the other. I don't think that's and then you've got highway department. This is where it gets. We've done the best we can with what the budget's looking like. Pretty much everything is nearly the same, except for the revenue. I increased that revenue 160-ish thousand, not quite 160, 150. That is to help balance him, because as we all know, that fund has not been balanced in several years. So we're trying to get that back in line.
That's where you moved over here, some of these pennies back.
Yeah, some of those pennies from the property tax, you'll see, moved into the highway.
466.
But that is not an intention of being able to do anything additional. That is just maintaining what he currently has. So, it should hopefully, at the end of the day, our projected fund balance should be next year up to $526,082. He has really cut back trying to keep that fund balance in a better position because currently it's not sustainable. And if I had done anything else, then we would definitely have to have some type of tax increase for it, or some type of other revenue source to go into it. And right now I have no other revenue source to pull in.
Does this take into account those roads you sent out the other day you was gonna try?
No, sir.
Does not? Okay.
This,
This is just to maintain what we're at this year.
so we just, you gonna make any progress on cost of paving per ton?
We making progress?
Beg your pardon?
So we're making progress?
I mean, are we gonna be able to renew that contract at the same amount?
Right now, we can still renew it the same amount that we've had the previous year if the finance approves it. It has to go through a program with them. But that will allow us to continue the contract because everybody knows fuel's up, asphalt products go up. We know it's gonna go up.
Boy, drives a note.
How far will a ton of pavement go?
All about from me to Randall.
That's what I thought.
not very far.
Depends on how wide it is.
Yeah.
How deep it is.
Bicycle path or car path?
Is that one lane?
No, that's why this table from Lee Randall.
Okay.
Takes 1,000 ton average to do a mile.
Wow.
At our current rate is 126.50.
That's
126,500.
That's just one inch too.
We need,
That's two.
We need-
It's 18 foot.
we need to really make that some kind of announcement there, Steve, in the paper about why we can't pay you. You know, people are complaining about the road.
How will we make a difference of it?
I'm trying to let people know that he's doing the best he can, we're doing the best we can.
But what we're doing is we're actually doing less every year because prices are increasing, budgets stay the same. You can almost put this budget on a copy machine from 2016. You can almost do that. Now, how much is fuel and everything went up since?
Yeah. It's double.
Not to mention labor rates, and I have cut the number of employees since I've come into office. We're at least 5 employees shorter than it was when I took over.
How many do you got, Steve?
25 average. And the budget was set at 30 when I took office.
Is that year-round employees? Or you
Yes.
lay some off?
Based on year-round employees.
I think he's doing the best he can with what he's got.
I think you,
And I'd also like, while I get the floor and get to speak, you heard them in the beginning of the meeting say what shape Hardin County's in. My employees, Henderson County's employees, went out, they worked extremely hard in severe conditions. They're risking their lives for very little. And look at the money that we've saved the county in Cleveland. $23 million. You know, noted Hardin County's disaster was worse than ours. Can you imagine how many millions of dollars if you contracted that service to someone else? They're getting $16.50 a yard to pick that stuff up out there. And I think we've already hauled over $300,000. So we can do the math. And they talk about the electric system, the sheriff's department, and all that all the time. Yes, those guys deserve every dime they get. But a lot of times, my men are there either right beside them or right in front of them. But sometimes they can't get there, we move the stuff out of the road.
it's true.
And I think it's time those guys are recognized out there.
You know, when the ice is on the road, y'all's blading out there and nobody else can get around.
TDOT would not work where we work with their bazillion-dollar budget.
They only get cold.
Maybe we can improve this. Hopefully. Any more questions of highway department?
No, sir.
Page 39.
Great job, Steve. To you and everybody, your boys, your men and women, you got it.
So the capital projects fund, that's that last page there. I've had several requests and we've rearranged some pennies to help offset some for the general fund. So I am looking at reducing that total revenue to $216,727 going into that fund. So on that election commission, the first one, they're needing e-poll books, and Robin can explain more about that. But that number I have is $21,300. We got an updated quote, and that was originally for just 10 e-poll books, but now they're saying we can do the entire 28 that he needs for $30,000. It was right at $31,000. have that quote in here. But, so my recommendation on that would be to go ahead and increase that to 31,000. Because I'm gonna have to bid it either way. If it goes, since it's going over 25, so.
What's the difference in the machine?
These machines are just like an iPhone, they work on the same system, they maxed out. What I'm gonna do is start rotating six a year. They were $2,130 a piece, and by going ahead and not buying all 28, we're gonna save $28,000. So we can wait and spend another 28, or we can save 31.
Does the city give you money on that?
Nobody does. None of the cities do it.
Do they pay you for election?
The city elects the city of Parker's Crossroads, but not Saugus and South City.
Why don't they pay?
Because they have their election with this coming up election in August.
They're on the general, right? They're on the general election.
Yeah.
Would that consider a called election what they're on?
No, they just put it in with the county, so it didn't.
I'm talking about the elections in Parker Crossroads.
Oh, Lexington Parker's Crossroads, they do their own.
That's called called elections.
Yeah.
All right. Moving down to the next one.
So that is, on that one, I'll mention mine, so. 31,340, so I would budget 32-ish thousand. By the time we bid it and everything, it may go up, so. Anyways, right now that is the quote we had gotten. Then you've got one vehicle in county buildings, that is for a truck with a utility bed. They're needing a utility bed for maintenance, and actually he wanted two vehicles there, or needed two vehicles there as well. And I think today, actually, one of the vehicles had
One of the old maintenance trucks, the white one. If y'all seen them pulling around the lawnmower stuff, it went up. It quit.
So we could potentially use some of the funding. I have one for the sheriff's department in there as well. Last year, I think we did 3. So we could use that for a second vehicle for county buildings. That's an option.
I talked to the sheriff, he said if we needed it for the county buildings, we can move that line out of the.
What was it, we've already buy one vehicle a year? For the
Cost
sheriff's
estimate.
department,
5.
that's what I thought.
So he's not gonna take his patrol car, instead you're gonna buy a maintenance truck?
He said he was okay with it. They told me on the phone. He said to take it out and push it over to him.
That's an option there. Then the last one, which last year we had 2 washers, 2 dryers we had to buy for the church department, so that's zeroed out, because that has been bought. And then the last one is the highway department, that is 1 truck there for $55,000.
Go back to the workout, does him or Larry mention anything to you about a kettle? They told me about a kettle.
They had originally mentioned a kettle. It was, that's been several months ago, back when we were doing tickets.
I think they're,
I need to go back and look at that,
Yeah.
so I'll go back and get
they
that.
mentioned a kettle today.
But we do have fund balance there, so we can pull from
Okay.
that.
Just make a note of that.
Okay.
I'll talk about it. It goes back to that kitchen stuff in the contract. We got to provide all this stuff for the food service, all this
Yeah.
equipment, and still pay them to do something we can do now.
We're making a profit.
They said she did all that.
Yeah, you're familiar with it.
I used to work at State They make it just, we supervise. Stay out of the way.
Any questions for the budget? This is just the first reading. Pretty much a Well, a first workshop.
Yeah.
That first reading, be careful what I say.
That's exactly right.
I want to say overall, the department's did a great job this year managing what it was allocated. You guys have been very conservative too, which reflects our overall reserve accounts, undesignated. I will say that undesignated has increased, it's nowhere near what it needs to be. And keep that, but, some of our priorities of this next budget year, we need to start looking at, working on, let's talk to Steve, and I've been looking at options for the highway department, so we'll see how that works out. Hopefully present y'all something soon.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Then it'll be funded for 10 next year.
Next meeting.
Next meeting, we've got on here, we're gonna meet again. If needed, do y'all feel like y'all want to have a next meeting, or y'all want to go to the full commission? If y'all want another budget meeting, we can go June 2nd. Or we'll go to the full commission June 9th.
I think we're close enough to the commission, yeah.
June 9th is our regular schedule meeting.
I won't be here June 9th, I'm going back on hot dog territory.
And assuming that we pass the first reading of that budget, we're gonna hold off to June 30th. The last call, the very last we can do, hoping to wait on the set tax rate, or we can do it all at the same time.
Makes sense.
6 o'clock.
I like the 6 o'clock,
I love
but that's if we do a budget meeting. I think regular meetings always at 7, right?
Right.
So, our regular scheduled meeting should be June 9th at 7 p.m.
I'll budget, and then if I'll have,
Okay,
budget minutes for sure.
okay.
So we need 6 on June the 9th.
6th, June 9th for budget committee, and then 7 o'clock for the full commission.
Okay.
Sorry, I can't make it. Man, vacation.
You on the property? Property. Do the phone in. Good.
Everybody happy? Or not happy, but said.
Semi-happy.
Yeah. Take a motion to adjourn.
Motion. Second.
Second. All in favor, aye.